All local, all morning. This is Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
We have to get our children educated. We're not doing well with the world of education in this country, and we haven't for a long time.
First at 6, it's seen as the beginning of the end of the Department of Education. The president signed an executive order that calls for the agency to be dismantled. And so we're going to hear from Connecticut teachers and lawmakers on the impact this could have on our schools here at home. And good morning to you. Happy Friday. Thanks for starting yours off with us here at Fox 61 and Fox 61 Plus. I'm Erica Arias.
And I'm Tim Lammers. Happy Friday, everybody. You might need to bundle up a little bit, headed outside, not too chilly. Also some patchy fog here and there. I only know that because I was sneaking a peek at the weather maps. Rachel, good morning.
Hey, good morning. Yes, some sneaky denser fog in some locations. Not overly concerned with that. And the rain will come to an end late morning and early afternoon. So I do think there could be a shower between now and about 8 o'clock, but the skies will begin to dry out after that. Sunshine comes out. We do have some pockets of rain pushing into the capital city this morning. You'll see here that rain chance continues through at least 8 o'clock this morning before we gradually start to see things calm down. Our current visibility across the state has improved. You can see that here, but where they're not reporting reduced visibility, there could be 1 or 2 locations that are dealing with that this morning. 43 degrees right now in Hartford, but when you factor in the wind, that is breezy, anywhere from 10 to about 20 miles per hour sustained, gusting closer to 30 to 40 miles per hour. And that's going to be the case really all afternoon. It feels like the 20s and the 30s out the door. So planning your morning, you'll see here that we have those rain showers through at least 8 o'clock this morning. And then by the afternoon, it's turning mostly sunny but windy with temperatures up around 50 degrees in the afternoon. Where we go from here, we'll talk about the weekend. Warmer temperatures are on the way, at least for the first half of it. More details on that coming up. As we check with the roads this morning here at 6:02, we are dealing with a crash over on 91 over in the capital city this morning. So you want to give yourself some extra time. Right now, it looks like it's a 1-vehicle crash on 91 out by exits 32A. So again, it doesn't look like there's delays in the area just yet, but of course, we'll keep you posted on that. We also have some road work in the area of exits 62 and 63 on the Wilbur Cross Parkway over in North Haven. So delays are expected as that begins to clear up. Jumping on 91, Rocky Hill to Hartford is 8 minutes. Cromwell to New Haven is 22. 691 looks good at 8 minutes. So over to you.
Rachel, thanks. President Trump signed that executive order that calls to dismantle the Department of Education. He was joined by students at the East Room of the White House yesterday as he signed it. Secretary of Education Linda McMahon was on hand. She spoke about the president's actions.
He wants to get those dollars, even more dollars, back to the states without the bureaucracy of Washington.
Secretary McMahon says that she plans to work with Congress on the next steps. So a lot of people are wondering, what does the future of education look like for us here in Connecticut?
Yeah, it's a big question that a lot of families and educators are asking. Fox 61's Bridget Burelow got to hear from local educators about how this order could impact our state.
Educators are not shocked by this news. It was discussed for weeks now, but they do say low-income students and those with special needs will pay the biggest price.
The Trump administration has delivered its latest blow to the Department of Education, with President Donald Trump signing an executive order Thursday to dismantle the federal agency.
We have to get our children educated. We're not doing well with the world of education in this country, and we haven't for a long time.
The president of Connecticut's biggest teachers union reacted to the news.
It continues to devalue the work that goes on in our public schools, de-emphasize the importance of that work, and kind of takes back and rolls back the obligations and opportunities to oversee and coordinate the efforts of education across this country.
While closing the department would take an act of Congress, the administration could gut it, making it difficult to operate. Just last week, half the agency's staff got a pink slip.
We here in Connecticut are going to continue to fight for what's right.
And in Connecticut classrooms, teachers say confusion is swirling, especially among students.
They're scared. It's uncertainty. They're like, oh, some kids are even like, we don't have to go to school anymore.
Jada Ellison teaches middle schoolers English in East Hartford and says right now in schools there are more questions than answers.
Is it going to delay funding? Is it going to put a delay on services for kids who need services now? So just some concern for the near future. But we still need to show up every day and be there for the kids and do our jobs.
Most funding for public schools, about 90%, already comes from the state and local level. The federal education department's funding and services protects students with disabilities, helps low-income families, investigates discrimination, and oversees higher ed financial aid. The administration maintains none of those programs will be impacted, but critics are sounding the alarm that students' learning will take a hit. Governor Ned Lamont is reacting to the executive order, writing in part, quote, "The president's executive order threatens the strength and stability of our public schools by undermining the federal government's role in supporting education. Programs like Title I, IDEA, Pell Grants, and Impact Aid are essential to ensuring that all students have access to a high-quality education regardless of their family's income. These investments help level the playing field, providing critical resources for low-income students, funding mental health and school safety initiatives, and guaranteeing services for students with disabilities."
Connecticut is part of a multi-state lawsuit suing the White House over the dismantling of the U.S. Department of Education. In studio, Bridget Bjorlo, Fox 61.
Bridget, thank you. Now, Connecticut families have also raised concerns over proposed cuts to the National Institutes of Health. That's the federal agency responsible for public health research and for funding things like clinical trials at UConn Health and at the Yale School of Medicine. Fox 61's Kaylee Collins is live outside the Yale School of Medicine in New Haven with more. Good morning.
Good morning, Tim. Yeah, a lot of families here in Connecticut are worried about what those potential cuts could mean for their children's health care. And although a federal judge has temporarily blocked those cuts from taking effect, some worry that the Trump administration might just move forward with its plan to make those cuts regardless of that block. Now, as part of the Trump administration's plan to cut federal spending by $2 trillion over the next few years, indirect research funds for the National Institute of Health, or NIH, would be slashed by more than 10%. The NIH says that could save $4 billion a year, but universities like Yale and UConn rely on federal grants through the NIH to fund clinical trials and other kinds of health research. Now, without those grants, people like the Curran family say they may not be able to access some life-saving treatments. Connor Curran was diagnosed with Duchenne muscular dystrophy, or DMD, when he was just 4 years old. His mom, Jessica, says a grant provided by the NIH allowed him to participate in a gene therapy clinical trial, which has greatly improved the function of his muscles and heart. She worries that what her son's future would look like if those kinds of trials are no longer funded.
Every second of every day, he loses muscle. We, like every parent of a child with a life-limiting disease, ask our doctors, will the cure come in time for my son? This is not a red question. This is not a blue question. This is a red, white, and blue question.
And although the primary concern is on those healthcare effects, there's also a concern about the economic impact that these cuts could have. Back in 2023, the NIH awarded $770 million in grants to Connecticut institutions, and Senator Richard Blumenthal's office says this supported more than 6,600 jobs and also generated $1.68 billion in economic activity here in our state. And coming up next hour, we'll be hearing from Yale researchers to learn a little bit more about these proposed cuts' impact on healthcare and other industries here in Connecticut. For now, we're live in New Haven. Kaylee Collins, Fox 61.
Kaylee, thank you. Well, 6:09 right now, and a Waterbury man who says he was held captive by his stepmother for more than 20 years is on a very long road to recovery. Medical professionals are trying to piece together the long-term effects of starvation, dehydration, and limited social interaction. Fox 61's Jamel Johnson spoke to some experts about the possible impacts.
A Waterbury man says access to food and water were limited his entire life. He also had limited social interaction. Now, as a 32-year-old man, medical professionals are wondering what kind of toll this could have had on a human being. When Dr. Saud Anwar heard about this case, he says he immediately thought about the victim's health.
It's a miracle that he's alive. The fact that he was, his weight is so low, the amount of impact that he's had, it's a miracle that he's alive.
Police said the man weighed less than 70 pounds when he was rescued.
My stepson is in here.
His body mass index is close to 15. It should be minimum 22 for a healthy person. 22 to 23, 24 would be a healthy person. So he needs to be at least another 60, 70 pounds more. So he's half of what he should be.
Anwar feels the man's health is at a point of no return.
The entire body's adjusting to the lack of enough resources, nutrition. In some cases, it's irreversible damage.
Licensed clinical social worker Phyllis DeJoya says the same could also be said for the man's psychological state.
This child, unfortunately, was set up for every kind of delay. He had said that he remembered being locked in his bedroom as early as 3 years old. The development of a sense of emotional safety and security would have been damaged at that very early age.
I asked DeJoya why the man may not have attempted to escape sooner.
The stability of all he has ever known is abuse. There's only one way that would be threatened, and that would more than likely be his own life. There must have been some threat much bigger than his perpetual state of survival.
DeJoya says his recovery is going to be complex.
His version of normal is going to be an integration, I would imagine, of what he has known and what he can learn. Learning coping strategies, cognitive behavioral therapy, trauma-informed care are absolute musts.
Now, since this story broke, we have not gotten any new details on the man's condition, but we will continue to follow this case and provide new details as we get them. In Vernon, Jamel Johnson, Fox 61.